Okay, so I've just been to the gym. What time is it? It's about 10 o'clock. So time to head home. On the drive, what I want to talk about is a little bit about my conviction on Bitcoin. Because I think it's quite important that we get a good grasp of when would be the next best entry, maybe. So in this specific video, I want to talk a little bit about my conviction, and at the same time, what would I do right now until the next best entry, right? So before you guys FOMO into gold or FOMO into Bitcoin, you need to understand that the 4 years Bitcoin cycle is coming to an end. Even the gold cycle might also be coming to an end now. So in regards to the upside, it could be maybe another 10, 15, 20% uplift in terms of price from here, versus if you keep your cash, stack up your cash now and be prepared for the next best entry, which would probably be in a few years time for Bitcoin, which potentially could give you a higher return, such as 100%, 200%, 300%, or even 400%. Okay, so let's talk about this now. So just to highlight, I've been in investment of Bitcoin for quite a few years now. This is actually my third cycle, interestingly enough. The first two cycles, probably you don't even know what you are doing, and what I've experienced was first, second cycle, I didn't know what I was doing. Third cycle, I'll need to ensure that I need to cash out properly to have all of my lifestyle chips. The mistake that I made in the first two cycles, it was all due to FOMO, right? A lot of the FOMO were driven by the media. When the media was talking about Bitcoin at certain price, many of the crypto exchanges were advertising heavily. So this would be the time when FOMO really kicks in. So what happened was I ended up purchasing a lot of crypto as opposed to Bitcoin. Okay, so you need to take note of this. There's a difference between Bitcoin and crypto, right? So that was my biggest mistake in my first and some of my second cycle, right? So FYI, we are on the fourth cycle for Bitcoin, right? So I ended up purchasing a lot of crypto. We call them shit coins. And essentially what this shitcoin does, they tend not to perform, or once the narratives is finished, the coins would probably never pump back again, right? So what you need to make sure is make sure you stack a load of Bitcoin as opposed to shitcoin, right? Probably the breakdown would be 80-90% on Bitcoin, 10% or 20% on speculative crypto coins. So I want to make sure that you guys don't make this mistake anymore as I did, right? It was quite painful, but certainly I rectify all of this the more I learn about Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin, it has a fixed number of coins that it can be minted. I think it's 21 million. We are already 19 million now. It's a good form of store of value. Interestingly enough, people are FOMO into gold as opposed to Bitcoin now, because gold is also a good store of value too, right? So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of this. And essentially, what I've experienced that I've gained most in terms of investing in Bitcoin and crypto is to follow the strategy of HODL, right? So don't buy leverage, but buy in spot and HODL, right? And the best time to enter would probably be 500 days before the next halving event. So go to ChatGPT or Google and type in the next or the 5th Bitcoin halving date. It would give you the exact date, which I can't remember on top of my head. But exactly 500 days before the next or the 5th Bitcoin halving event will start sometime in middle of November next year. And it's quite important that if you were to invest in Bitcoin, you need to start to prepare your cash or start stacking your cash right now, right? So for my instance, I did have some gain now from my Bitcoin and crypto bags. So that's why I'm on my way out, right? I'm selling, right? And essentially what I'm doing is to stack up cash and not to go crazy with FOMO buying right now. However, to buy in at the bottom, right? So historically, 500 days before the next halving event for Bitcoin, for the past 4 Bitcoin cycle, 500 days before the halving event essentially indicates Bitcoin would be at the all-time low, right? So this would be the time to get in, right? So the time might not be to get in right now or FOMO in right now, because the gain, you might be getting a good gain of 10, 15, 20%, versus if you start stacking your cash now and come in much later next year, sometime in November, buy DCA or pound cost average, buy Bitcoin on a daily basis or weekly or whatever DCA strategy that you want to follow. This would gives you the greatest gain in the next Bitcoin cycle, right? So this is something to show you or illustrate to you what I'll probably be doing now and until the next cycle, right? So it's also to really showcase the conviction, because, you know, coming from my Compound Life channel, we need to ensure that, you know, we do have strong habit of saving, but at the same time, what do we want to save upon, right? Very likely it's to save upon buying asset that would give us good gain. And for this instance, I'm talking a lot about Bitcoin because this is what the market is going through right now. There's actually a lot of uncertainty on properties, so that's why I'm not talking too much on properties yet. But there are a lot of media coverage on gold and Bitcoin. It's important that we do not FOMO in right now, because this is the end of 4-year cycle for Bitcoin. Gold could also be a bubble that can burst anytime, so you don't want to end up buying at the top and then having to hold for a long period of time, right? So now is the time where we practice capital preserve, right? So that's why people or OG that has been in the Bitcoin game for a long period of time, you know, they are looking into taking profits and preserving their capital, right? Exactly what I'm doing right now. And it's really important that, you know, if you rely on, like sometimes I do, like I used to rely on paycheck salary to, you know, to increase my saving, you need to start stacking, right? Have a goal in terms of, if I want to get into Bitcoin by next year in November, I've got about a year to start saving for this asset. And in that case, how much do I want to save, right? So if you've got the commitment to say that, hey, I want to save at least £12,000, $12,000, right? Essentially, that's almost £1,000, $1,000 a month of saving that you put away, maybe in a higher interest saving account. You start saving, and essentially to re-enter the market for Bitcoin in about a year's time, sometime in November. So go into ChatGPT and ask when would be the next halving event, and then you want to enter the market approximately 500 days before the halving event. So that's November, right? So have strong conviction. So that's my conviction, right? So I DCA for the past 6-7 years, almost on a daily basis, right? And essentially for this cycle, my Bitcoin gain was actually 4x, more than 4x gain. And that's through the power of DCA, right? And that's through having conviction on the asset itself, because knowing that Bitcoin is getting more scarce and scarce, right? Okay, so that's it for guys. Later. Bye.